Good morning to all of you,
Good
and
morning.
welcome to this webinar on compensation and benefits. Uh,
Good
well,
morning.
I would request everybody to be muted, but it will be wonderful to have you all on the video because it gives a lot of energy and it doesn't look like I'm just speaking to myself, looking at the laptop. So I guess that will be, a wonderful thing. All right. Let me also tell you how we are going to actually plan this webinar. So this webinar is for about an hour and a half. Okay. Now, what I would be taking you through, well, let me tell you the purpose of this webinar. The purpose of the webinar is to give you an overview of what the compensation benefit program run by Merit, okay, and what is that we really cover, give you an overview and a little kind of an insight. And also, I will be doing one module so that you get a kind of an understanding and insight as to how we do it, what we do, and to what depth we do this. So that you also have, for having actually committed yourself to an hour and a half, and it's a great commitment, in fact, at such pandemic times, you have something to also take away. So we will be doing a particular module or one aspect of the entire compensation and benefits so that you can take away as a learning part of it. Okay, and then we'll leave around 15 to 20 minutes for question and answers, and that is Q&A. And also then Vilma would be explaining to you what the program is about and how is it structured, etc., what duration and sessions, etc. Apart from that, we also do module wise. So we also do modules. I'll be explaining to that a little later. Okay, having kind of been in this profession for the last 35 plus years, and been in a leadership role for the last 20 to 25 years, both as a practitioner, as a consultant. Right now I'm an independent consultant doing mostly consulting work in the area of training, HR strategy, compensations, compensation management, etc. So let me quickly, further any ado, we just jump into the compensation program. Okay. Okay. Now, as I see, most of you uh, are at a middle or a senior level positions, having spent a lot of time in the HR domain, and I'm sure some part of your experience has been in the area of compensation. Okay, quickly, if you can just anyone voluntarily, if you can unmute yourself and tell me what would be some of the key challenges, one or two challenges, compensation challenges you have actually confronted in particular on the ground. To begin with, let us just brainstorm ourselves and see what it is. Yeah, anybody? You can unmute yourself and just it gives me an indication. Yes, people are aware of the compensation challenges. So what could be some of the key challenges in compensation as a practitioner?
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Radha this side. So majorly, it is like meeting the market standards for the existing employees. There is always a disparity between the new joiners who come in and the existing employees who are there in the organization. And to meet, or to rather bring them to that level, is sometimes a major challenge for any organization.
Okay, market standards. That
Yes.
means how do we actually, pay as per the market, right?
Correct, correct.
Benchmarking salaries to the market.
Yep,
All right.
yeah.
Anybody else? Just one or two more responses I would like to take.
Can you able to hear me?
Yeah.
I think one of the challenges what it is there. For example, in my company, I have some sets of my own limitations. For example, any position for HR example, I'm paying like 1 lakh per annum. Just an example.
Okay.
In market, I'm not getting it. In market, they are way high above. But
Okay.
either I have to compromise, saying taking a less talented person or not capable, and then develop them. That kind of thing challenges I have.
So can I actually put it this way, saying that, you know, meeting to the person's expectations in terms of what he wants as a salary and what the employer can offer, right?
Yeah, that's
A huge gap in terms of expectations, right?
That it is there. And also the market also. The market has been, I think, you know, industry to industry is different. For me, mine is manufacturing industry. Mine pay is not that high wise compared.
Right. So therefore, then it is a whole lot of key components. So I would say I'm not getting into the details why, but probably just looking at the key challenges. How do you attract talent? I would please request, since we also have a very short time, and you would be actually losing out because we have something very interesting lined up for you. So I would request everybody to, there's a lot of noise and that's distracting. Please unmute only the person who has actually, So the challenge would be to attract the talent at the kind of compensation levels or pay levels you are offering. Okay.
Yes.
One more, just one more.
Hello. Yeah, ma'am, Ramu this side.
Right.
Basically, to meet the requirements of the government, basically, if you are checking the government compliances like minimum wages, so in the every 6 months or half yearly, the minimum wages has been changed, and it would also impacted the salary structure of the employees or the government compliances like ESIC, EPF. And the some of the new wages code, like for the white collar, 50% of their basic of converted to their gross. So this is the government as per the government structure has been changed. The total impact on the CTC structure. Yeah.
Absolutely, you're right. Though we are not, as per the government order, now we are not implementing the new wage code. But if the wage code actually gets implemented, where then 50% of it, the allowances can be only 50%, and the rest of it has to be basic, then what happens? The impact is on take-home pay. That's what you are trying to say. That, hey, the employee gets lesser, and then if I'm going to increase the salary, it's going to impact my cost of production, because obviously compensation is one of the major wage costs, right? Okay, great, guys. All right. So all of you mentioned, somebody mentioned broadly speaking about, you know, saying that market. I mean, how do we actually pay as per the market? Somebody said, hey, how do we actually pay for as per the expectations of the person we are going to hire? Because if we are actually having a pay levels or pay lines or pay salaries which are much lower than the expectations of the employee. Someone said, how are we going to manage these government rules and regulations which keep coming into play, and they're all the time, you know, getting modified, and then which has an impact on the take home? Then we also need to look at the outcome in terms of the business outcome, where if the productivity cost is going to increase, then our profit margins are going to decrease. So therefore, it is very, very clear, and it comes across straight, saying that, hey, for an HR person, this, you know, keeping our compensation costs low, and at the same time, how are we going to attract, then retain and motivate our employees in order to perform in a manner which he can actually optimally produce productivity, so that it can reduce our cost. Now, so in this webinar, in fact, I'm just going to give you a kind of an overview in terms of, hey, for this compensation and benefit certification program, what are we going to cover? As amply stated by all of you, the key challenges today in terms of compensation are both internal and external. So when I said external and internal, the organization is there, to actually achieve its business objectives. So there are a lot of external factors which impact compensation. Okay, like for example, the supply and demand of the talent, right? Then as someone mentioned about the labor, the government rules and regulations, all right? Then it could also be economy, the cost of living indexes, all right? So therefore there are various external factors which actually impact the compensation. Now having said that external factors impact compensation, now what is the fundamental thing for compensation? The compensation for an organization, keeping it low, it also has to be fair. Fairness is the underlying principle of an compensation. That means you have to be fair and equitable. When I said fair and equitable, that is what that means. Pay being paid, that is no differentiation between two people who are doing the same job, or no differentiation in terms of the relative kind of salaries we are paying with the effort in connotation with the effort. So therefore, primarily when we look at compensation, we are looking at three things: equity in terms of internal equity, equity in terms of external equity, equity in terms of individual equity. Now, in our program, we are going to emphasize how do organizations establish equity or fairness by getting into details of all. How do you establish internal equity, individual equity, and external equity? Now, you may say, hey, but why is equity important? Yes, equity is important because employees are always comparing ourselves, comparing our salary either internally vis-a-vis what others are getting paid, or externally as to if I'm an HR manager. Hey, what is the HR manager in a typical role like me getting in the market? Or if I'm an HR manager and there is also an HR manager doing the same job, well, I'm doing much more than the other person. So how is the reward taken care of? What is that extra am I getting? So therefore, as I mentioned, that it is very, very important to look at all these three equity principles. Okay, so just let me run you through what we are going to do. So in the first module, when we are looking at, we are going to look at all the external and internal factors. Primarily, the first module will be the external factors, where we are also going to look at this, what stage of the organization, what kind of regulations for each sector, what are the statutory regulations, okay? Then what are the competitive market forces which impact compensation, all right? And unions as well. So in fact, after having talked about in detail on these things, then what we will be looking at is the next: how do we establish? We'll be looking at all the three equities. How do we establish internal equity? Now, when we talk about internal equity, we are talking about what? The worth of the job. Because when an employee is comparing how is he being paid vis-a-vis the other jobs, so we have to first of all understand, say for example, just for example, that there is a sales manager, okay, and there is also a vice president sales. Why should the salaries of a sales manager and a vice president salary be different? Because by the virtue of what the vice president sales does is so different from what the sales manager does. So the worth of the job of a vice president is much higher as in compared to the worth of a sales manager, because it needs higher education, maybe qualifications, experiences, competences, effort, etc. So when we are talking about job evaluation, and which we talk in detail with various methodologies and technical tools, we'll talk about how do we establish the worth of the job in the organizations to establish internal equity. So when we say job evaluation, it is what is the worth of the job in relation with the other job. We help you to deal with this job evaluation by talking about various technologies like job ranking, job classification. Then we also look at point rating system and factor comparison. So we will in detail talk about these things through case studies. How do you establish the worth of the job, and in detail about point rating system. That means you assign points. For example, if a sales manager has been assigned points through job evaluation as 400 points, and a vice president has been assigned through job evaluation 800 points. So obviously the difference between the points of 400 and 800 is 400. So the job is much larger. The vice president job is much larger. So we will explain to you how do we go about by identifying compensable factors which actually you pay for, you pay the money for. Okay, now having done that, then we will also then talk about after having done the internal equity, then we will be talking about how do you then, somebody said, yeah, market benchmarking, salaries with the market. How do you actually benchmark the salaries with the market? What is that? How do we go about? How do we do compensation survey? How do we collect data? Then how do we then analyze the data? Then how do we make interpretations of the data? So we take you into a detailing of the entire market benchmarking, what we call it as, right from the start of identifying what kind of companies you need to look at, then what kind of data, what are those components or elements you look at in terms of collecting data, then how do you go about collecting data, primary data, secondary data. Then we give you a good absolute understanding and also case studies in terms of having collected the data. Then how will you go about analyzing this data? Like for example, if you were to say after doing a benchmarking, hey, I am at P78, D7 and Q3. If a consultant tells you, what does it mean for you? How do you go about understanding this? Okay, so we will explain to you, and also you will get a hands-on experience of how do you go about looking at percentiles, quartiles, deciles. How do you look at an array of data? So we will take you through a lot of statistical analysis. Having said that, the interesting part, then how do you next establish your internal individual equity? So when we talk about individual equity, that is what we are talking about. When two people are working in the same job, as I said, if two people are working as HR associates in the same job, how do you differentiate? How do you motivate people for people who work more or to stretch more? So we then look at to establish the internal individual equity. We look at the design considerations of short-term incentive base. Then we also look at long-term incentive base. Now, in fact, we will be looking at the entire concept of total reward strategy. So what is this total reward strategy, which is the most current trend? So when we are actually looking at this session, you'll also look at what are the current trends in everything. So various sectors, what are their current trends? How do they go about with the design considerations of their incentive base? Okay, so primarily we'll help you to design short-term incentives, long-term incentives with reference to your own sector or with reference to your own organization. Now, then we get to what is the most interesting thing and how you go about is, where is that? Not the communication, sorry. Don't go by this slide. The most critical takeaway for you will be also, for most of you, which will be like, a black box. How do you design a pay structure? For most of you, I'm sure, it's like a black box. How do you design a pay structure? How do you go about it? What are the elements? So we will be helping you in understanding how do you step 1, step 2, step 3, how do you design a pay structure? What is a pay line? What are pay ranges? What are these midpoint differentials? We look at mean, median, mode, etc. So some of the real takeaways are like, enabling you to design a pay structure which suits you, which suits your budget, etc. Then we also talk about the reward communication. How do you then communicate the entire reward very effectively? Yeah, one second. How do you communicate reward very, very effectively? What are those things, step 1, step 2, step 3, you need to do in order to get the, a kind of consensus on whatever you are communicating as a part of the reward strategy? Because it is not that you design your policies, your processes, but if your stakeholders are not convinced with what you're doing, because it involves about the salary, the reward, the benefits. So it will help you to understand how do we effectively communicate the reward. Okay. Now, so this was just to give you a brief on the entire overview of what are we doing right from the beginning of external environment to the internal environment, and then talking about all the equities of internal equity, external equity, and individual equity, and reward communication. Okay. Having said that, I'm going to give you a small insight into how we go about doing it so that you will appreciate better. And today what I'm going to, hey, can I have all of you on the video, guys? So now I'm going to take you through something very, very interesting. What I'm going to teach you is that a small module, and the title of this module is how do you calculate pay line through regression? Okay, for a lot of you, regression might be, hey, what is this regression? So when you are designing pay structures and when you're calculating pay lines, then you need to use a statistical tool called regression. So with data, I will quickly take you through this module. And with that, then we will close my session so that then, one second. Just bear with me, guys, 1 second. I'm so sorry that I'm having a little difficulty in opening up that file. So 1 second, guys. Okay, I'm here. Can you see my screen, guys? Can all of you see my screen? Huh?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to give you a little insight into is, as I said, how do you create, how do you design pay structures? And here essentially I'm going to take about 15 to 20 minutes explaining to you statistically through regression, how do you create a pay line? Okay. Now, what is a pay line? Pay line is that line where through regression you get it, that where organization can design their pay salaries or pay structures or salary levels. All right. Now, what is the starting point? So, as I said, the starting point for that is, first of all, to do a job evaluation. Now here, if you see in this table, what I've actually done is I've done job evaluation through a point plan. Point plan is nothing but a technique which is used in job evaluation, which is more quantified. So when you do the job evaluation through point plan, you then are establishing the worth of the job through quantified points. Step one, when I do a point plan job evaluation, I identify compensable factors. Okay, compensable factors are those factors for which the organization wants to pay the money. For example, here I have said compensable factors for an X company. Okay, education, work experience, knowledge, leadership, and supervisory responsibilities. How do you derive compensable factors? Typically, compensable factors for which you want to pay money are derived from the strategy of the organization. For example, for Google, innovation and creativity is very, very critical for its product delivery, for its innovation, for new products, because that is their USP. So therefore, then they will put their money there. So that means I want creativity and innovation across the organization. So there are very specific to the strategy compensable factors and also some generic compensable factors. Here I have taken some generic compensable factors cutting across all the organization. Like for example, if you go back home in an organization, you typically look at education, you typically look at experience when you are hiring people, which differentiates salaries of low levels and higher levels. It could be one of the factors could be experience, sometimes education, knowledge, leadership, etc. So just to give you a little brief understanding on compensable factors, this is it. Having said that, then you create a point plan. Now, when you create a point plan, then what you are saying is that, hey, do I want to create a point plan of 500, 1,000, 1,500? The basis of creating the point plan is depending on the size and the scope and the complexity of your organization. Okay, for a simplicity's sake, I've created a point plan of 400 points here. Right now, when I then take those 400 points, what I do, I create a point plan here. So that's going to take a little time here, but then we have assigned points after creating low, reasonable, high, exceptional, which is actually 4 levels. Then I have assigned points. Then once I have assigned points and created a point plan, then what I do, then these are the list of jobs I have taken. These are the list of jobs. If you notice that there are about 7 jobs, I'm doing a job evaluation of them. HR executive, technical lead, HR manager, production coordinator, and so on and so forth. So having taken this list of jobs here, then what am I trying to do? I'm saying, hey, I need to understand what is the kind of a salary I need to pay. That means I'm trying to create a structure, design a pay structure. Okay, I may be paying X salaries, but now I want to pay salaries as per the market. So what do I do first? Step 1, I have established their point value by working out on this point plan table and then evaluating the job, say for example HR executive, by saying, hey, taking the job description and then saying how many points in education, work experience, knowledge, etc. And this is typically done by a group of people. It is not done individually. It is done by the business leader of that particular position, and also 3 or 4 stakeholders, which also includes the HR head. So having assigned or having derived the point values for all these positions, step 2, what do I need to do? I also need market data, because when I'm deriving or when I'm designing a pay structure, I'm trying to balance both internal equity and external equity, and then say through regression, hey, what kind of salary I need to pay. So here, if you see that I have assigned or derived these point values, now this is the market data in rupees, okay, per month. Now, what do I do first of all when I'm doing a regression? First of all, I need to look at, hey, I cannot do regression without the data which I'm considering, point value data and salary data, to be linear. So when I want them to be linear, what do? I then do a scatter graph. Now, for your benefit, how do we do scatter graph? I just go to insert. Okay, sorry. How do I do a scatter graph? Select both the data. Okay. Though I'm not using engineer and senior engineer data, I left that with a specific purpose, which I'll teach you later. So after having highlighted that, what will I do? I'll go to insert. Then I look at scatter. Okay. I will just draw this. Yeah. All of you can see my scatter graph, guys? Just yes or no? Huh?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So what am I trying to do here? Just to reiterate so that you don't get lost, because this is a little complex. What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to design a pay line, or design a pay line so that I can structure my salary. It may be a startup, or it may be a company which is in existence and which already has salaries. Okay. But what is step 1? I have to establish, and through a methodology called what? Point plan method. So step 1, I have calculated all the point values through point plan job evaluation, the point plans value. So when I say point value, that means that establishes the worth of the job, which is a higher job and which is a lower job. If you look at this data, the higher job is here 360 HR manager, and the lowest job is about 100. Okay, which is the store assistant. So this gives me an indication in terms of which is a high job, low job. Now, second, when I want to design, I said you have to get market data. Third, you have to first of all look at whether it has a linear curve, because you can do regression only when the data is linear. You cannot do when it is curved or when there is no linear correlation. So we are going to check first of all through scatter graph whether the data is linear. So what have I done? I have selected the point value and the salary data, gone to insert, then I clicked on chart scatter. Now I have to look at a trend line. So click on any of these blue dots. What are they? They are job positions indicating the market salary. They are job positions indicating the market salary. Okay. So these job positions, if you look at, one is they are indicating what is the point value on the x-axis, and on the y-axis they are also indicating the salary. Now click on that any blue point and then right click, then you say add a trend line. Okay. Now can you see a trend line, guys? I'll just move this again so that you can see. Can you see a trend line here?
Yes.
What is a trend line? Trend line is when your points are, so a line which shows how the points are moving. Okay. Now you can see there are certain job points on both the sides, above and also below the line. Okay. Now if your points are very scattered, that means it's not a good fit. But if your points are almost sticking to the trend line, then that means it is a very good fit. Not necessary on the ground that all your job points which have point value and also which have market salary are going to be necessarily on, you know, on the upside of the pay line. Okay, there might be some points which are also below. Like for example, you can see 1, 2, 3 positions are below 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when you do this regression, so we are going to do regression sufficiently. We are going to check the first case. Now what do you do? Now what will you do? You want to do regression. So I'll just give you a little understanding of regression. Now regression can be done in Excel in 2 or 3 ways. Maybe I'll show you at best 2 ways. Okay, one in the simple way and the other in the okay. Now when I say trend line, let me just drag off this one here from here. Yeah. Add trend line. Can you see I have something here called display equation chart? I'm clicking on that, labeling it up, and
Yes.
I'm also saying display R square. Now, so that you can see very clearly, I'm dragging this here. Now, can you see there is something called R square? Can you see there is something called R square? And let me make it a little bigger so that you can see the R square.
Yeah, you can see. And it is 0.8.
Yeah. Now, this R square is called, what is it? R square is the coefficient determination. It is not correlation. It is regression. R square is coefficient determination. Okay. So it says 0.84. That means 80. So what is the measure for regression? The measure for regression is 1. That means 100%. It can come closest to 100%. But typically, you will not find data which is closest to 100%. Let me take 2 minutes to understand. I don't know how many of you understand regression. Now, when we actually look at regression analysis for compensation, why do we look at it? Now, we look at regression because regression helps us to predict the salary. What are we doing? So regression has the cause and effect. There are 2 variables, independent variable, dependent variable. Okay, so independent variable is a predictor. Like for example, there are 2 variables here for which I have done regression, the point value and the salaries. So point value is always called X, which is the independent variable. Okay, and which is the dependent variable? It is Y, which is called an outcome as well. Okay, it is the dependent variable. Now when I do regression, this line, what am I trying to predict through this line? Saying that what percentage of variance does the independent variable have on these salaries? So when I say R square is 0.84, that means what? 85% of the salary is dependent on point value. Is that clear, guys? Little faster. Anybody who can say yes, it will satisfy me. What?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is when you do a regression, 85% of here, looking at this data, 85% of the salary of the dependent variable is dependent on the point value. Well, you can do regressions for a lot of other contexts as well. You can look at tenuity, salary, etc., etc. But here in this context, we are only looking at salary and point value. Now, what does it connote? Visibly, when you do a pay line, what does it connote? That means when it is 85%, your job points will be closer. But when it is just 20 or 30% R square, that means this is not right data. You have to look at other variables. That means your data points will be all segregated almost very far from the pay line. Okay, so what is this pay line? The pay line, when you do a regression, it is saying I'm balancing both internal equity and external equity, and this pay line gives you what the midpoints of what you have to pay. This is the pay line because every point on it gives you the midpoint on what you have to design your salary based on your lead lag or on par policy. Okay, so when I'm doing so I showed you this. Okay, there is another way also, guys. One way is I showed you this. There's another way to do this. Just let me give you another way of also to do that. One second. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, guys, can you see something like a design here?
Yes.
Can you see
yes.
that?
Yes.
Okay. So now I go to quick layout. Okay. Then I go to FX. Have I got the same? Can you see that I could do that?
Yes.
Huh? Okay. Now, there's also another way of doing it. Let me just cut this. One second. There's another way of doing it. What is that way now? Data. Guys, can you see an icon here? Data analysis. All of you, can you see? Data
Yes.
analysis
Yes.
toolpath.
Yes.
Now I'm
Yeah.
clicking on that. Now I ask for
Regression.
okay. Then I say okay. So you need to download the data analysis toolpath. Now, what am I looking at? The data is very small purposely I took input Y range. Okay. Already my cursor is there. So input Y range, including the labels I'm taking, because then I will also tick the labels. All right.
Okay.
Input X range. As I said, Y is always a dependent variable and X is always an independent variable. Okay. Now what I'll do, I'll click on the label. Confidence level is always 95%. I want it in a new worksheet because the output is fairly large. Now I will say, yeah, I will show you the residual plot. Okay. And standard residuals. Right. Now what should I do? I should go to okay. Guys, can you see the output at the click of a button when you use data analysis toolpath?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for the purpose of regression analysis and designing a pay structure, we don't need to know the entire output. Typically, it is into 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3 levels. Okay. So this is good enough. Multiple R is nothing but correlation coefficient. What is it? It gives you the measure of correlation. Now the correlation is 0.91, which we actually saw in our graph.
Yeah.
If you see this graph, We did a graph, right?
Yes.
So there you can actually see that we had a, it's already a linear graph. Okay. It's only then you can do the R square. Can you see R square regression, which will be the same as even with the other methods? Okay, it's gone somewhere. So you must have seen that it is the same. All right.
Same. Yeah.
Now, how many of the, so the standard and adjusted typically take into consideration when you have multiple, when you're doing a multiple regression. Okay. So I also said the measure for regression is what? 1 or 100%. The measure for correlation is anything between +1 to -1. Okay. It can't go above +1 and it can't go below -1. And here it is 0.91 plus, very high correlation. That means your data has very good linear correlation, good correlation, positive correlation, high. Only then you can do. Now, here, now I don't want you to get into this because when we do the module, we will explain to you all this. Now you can see that when you do regression, there are two values which you need to calculate. They are called slope and intercept. Okay. So what is the slope? It is that pay line which we looked at when we are doing a scatter graph. That is the slope or the gradient. And what is intercept? That line which cuts into the y line. That's called the intercept. So statistically, when you do regression, it calculates both the values for you, slope and intercept. Now, when you want to actually then decide on your pay line salaries, that means, hey, I have got my point values. I have got the market salary. Now, how do I, what is the midpoint? That is those midpoints of the entire pay line, that how do you calculate salaries for all those positions? Then this is the formula. Y is equal to slope value multiplied by the point value plus intercept. So when you do this, then you can actually calculate all these pay line salaries. Okay, just simply incorporating these values here, you can calculate. But just let me go to the sheet one, explain to you that data. So you can see at the one click of a button, you will get intercept value. Have you got it? Point value, which is actually the slope. So therefore, when you can do regression in many ways, by the quick method, by quick layout method, or through regression method. And now if you look at these, let me just pull this. Okay. Now you may wonder what are these charts? Now graphs, visual graphs. Okay. Right. Now let me explain to you. What is this chart? That means these blue dots are those salaries. Okay. Market salaries. And these red dots are those salary values for all those positions which predicted salaries. That means what you need to pay at a midpoint level. All right. Now you may see that when it throws up, some salaries may be high. Like for example, this salary, I'm not able to make out the position, is higher than what the market is. And sometimes you can have that this salary here is lower than what the market is. So you may say, hey, but why is it that some salaries are showing lesser salary? Now when you do regression, what happens? It throws up your best fit, that to have an internal equity within your organization. So this is the kind of a pay line you need to follow, which gives you visually, you have seen the scatter graph line, that those are those along that line, whatever positions are there as per the point value, then those are the pay line or predicted salaries. Now, I just spent 2-3 minutes here. Now, in most of the organization, because there was little data, it was okay. But what happens when you do a regression now? You'll have a lot of challenges. You will have top level jobs, you will have middle level jobs, you will have lower level jobs. There is complexity. IT jobs are always being paid higher. There are certain jobs which have to be paid lower. So when you get this kind of a plot, then what happens? You can also do regression by what? Job classification. So you can do regression just for your IT jobs. Okay, just looking at that. Then what happens? Your pay line will not be just straight. It can vary. A slope of a particular set of jobs can vary with another set. Now, so you can do pay lines by classifying either by just functionally, or you can also look at all the top level jobs segregated from all different functions. So when you actually sit with the data, nothing comes straight jacketed. So you have to actually then, with the maturity, with the data, and with the kind of challenges on the ground, and also the challenges of attracting and retaining a talent, then you will devise your pay policy of lead, lag, or on par by extrapolating min max, where you will say, hey, these positions I need to give them 10 or 15% more than what has been thrown up by my pay line. These positions, supply and demand, plenty of supply jobs, plenty of jobs in the market for all these support functions like HR, admin, facilities. I don't have to give so much of salary, so I will actually lag there. So whatever has been predicted, I will give 15% less. That is called lag. Or some positions on par. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you don't have to do the regression line for all your jobs at one go. You can then classify them depending on the kind of challenges you have. And then in the end, you also have certain outliers. Then outliers cannot be fit into your pay line. Then you have, because they will be what? One position, unique position, or maybe just two positions. So then you will have to pay as the market pays or as per their demand. So that's how you actually design a salary structure with all your pay levels, pay ranges, midpoint differentials, etc. Okay, guys, I think I actually rushed you all, but sorry for that.
Ma'am, I have one doubt.
Now we can I can take in quick questions. Okay, yes.
Yeah, ma'am, you said that
before you ask me the question, guys, I want to understand so were you able to comprehend a little, because regression is a little complex, but in the possible time we had, I was trying to squeeze in a lot. Okay, were you able to understand or get a quick glance of what it is? Any reaction? You can show your reaction just through your thumb. Ravi Kiran is not very sure whether he got it or not.
A little of it.
Pardon?
A little of it we could understand.
But this is something which you will not have it anywhere. Even if you search in your internet, it comes only by sheer many years of donkey's hard work, sweat, soil, that you are able to figure out what it is, how it is, Okay, but let me tell you guys, this is real science. That's how you design, and that's way in today's time, compensation guys are actually demanding very high salaries. You know that, right?
One doubt I am, ma'am. This compensable factors which you have said in the beginning. So based on the generic compensable factors you have taken. You've taken the example of innovation and everything. Basing on the strategy, I believe. Basing on the strategy of that. So compensable factors for the example in the Excel sheet what you have given is the experience. Experience range and salary, like that. I think four points you have taken. Based on, so what I can understand is, for my organization, first I have to arrive on the compensable factors and then go for the point plan.
So just to give you a very quick one shot answer for you. See, for example, in whatever organizations you are working, why is there a difference of salary between two levels? So when you're doing compensation, I'm not looking at Ravi Kiran and Amar. Why are they getting two salaries? No. I'm looking at compensation salary structures. Okay. Why am I paying differently from level 1 and level 5? Key. Are you getting me? So that's a different thing. To have internal equity, then I will look at Ravi Kiran, okay, having put both the people on the same level. Hey, why should I give him more? Because maybe merit pay, he has 2-3 other certifications. I'll top it off with some other incentives, etc. I'm not talking about that. Here, what primarily responding to your question, in compensation, and when we're talking about compensation, I'm talking about all the guaranteed fixed salary. Why do two jobs get different salaries if they're in two different levels? Because there is something like, maybe the experience. So there are the talent acquisition guy will take into education, experience. So as you go higher, maybe sometimes you don't have to have a PhD or an MBA, but product knowledge or behavioral competencies like leadership, etc. So all these are derived, Ravi, from your own organization. So you have to actually then look at with the Nelson eye, saying that looking at all the jobs. So what are those key differentiators? So compensable factors are those factors for which you want to pay. But I took a Google example saying that, hey, but creativity and innovation, I wanted to cut across all the organization, may not be in the same proportion, but I want it present in all the jobs. Got it?
Yeah. Because
So
my organization is cost focus organization. Cost optimization is a key thing for my organization, rather than rather than innovation.
You can't cut and paste compensable factors, though generic compensable factors by and large will be the same. But you, if you are an HR person, you have to actually look at your own organization with its size, complexity, etc. Hey, why am I paying? Why are the salaries different? Okay, look at your salary structure. Then you will get to understand. And also some of the compensable factors derive from the strategy.
Okay.
Okay, Ravi?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Somebody who was wanting to ask a question?
Jackma here.
Louder, if you can be louder.
Jackma here. Can you able to hear me?
Jai, is that Jai?
Yes.
Yeah, Jai, tell me.
Okay. I think I'm going back to the same question.
You want to be on your video, Jai, or not very comfortable?
I think the network is going to go a little low.
Okay, no problem. But quickly, if you can tell me the question, I'll be able to connect to you faster.
Okay. The question is that I think whatever he asked, same thing, point system, which we are doing it, like 10, 20 point system. Can we do a competency-based mapping, and then based on competency-based mapping, I can do a point system?
Sir, there is a methodology. We pay salaries by competency-based salary compensation, skill-based. So when you say competency-based, so typically you are identifying critical competencies, right? And then you will differentiate level of proficiency, saying that level 1 will have less proficiency, level 3 will have higher proficiency, mastery proficiency. So that helps you to understand, right?
Yeah.
So you can definitely, when you say competency is very generic. So you will identify 3 or 4 key competencies which actually impact your organization. And then, like for example, innovation, creativity is nothing but a competency. Saying that, hey, levels of, proficiency. When I say levels of proficiency means the need for that role for creativity may be low, maybe high, maybe average. Got it?
Yeah.
And you will assign points.
Yeah, same example, maybe accountability. Accountability maybe for the junior one little bit low.
Yeah.
As in goes on seniors.
But I want to make another submission here, Jai, saying that accountability will be very, very generic. But accountability can become very, very specific in terms of dollar value, budgets, etc. Got it? So today we are in the days of metric measure. I can't measure anything if it does not have a quantification, because there are 2 types of data. Data will be typically has to be quantified, or if it is not quantified and if it is ordinal data, I will have to then translate it to quantified data, because people can actually then be convinced about it. But if we are very generic and vague about it, then we will not be able to. Got it?
Yeah. Okay.
Any more questions? Otherwise, I will leave the platform to Wilma, who will explain further.
Ma'am, I have a quick question.
Lavanya. Yeah.
Adding to Jay, I couldn't hear him properly, but since he's talking about competencies, so we are actually in the process of defining competencies and proficiency levels in my organization. Okay. What I'm trying to understand is it really, does it become too objective to replace the entire structure with these kind of values, with the new competencies in place? Or should we, just trying to understand what is the thought there?
ultimately, what is it? I'm not really getting the question, but as I understand, you said, you know, we are in the cusp of doing competency mapping and identifying competencies for our roles, right? Is that so, Lavanya? Huh?
Correct.
You are doing
Correct.
competency mapping for all your roles, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why are you the objective of competency mapping is to ensure that when we are recruiting or when we are training people, that we are spot on there, actually giving, either taking people with the right kind of competencies which will actually impact the superior performance, or we are giving training so that we are able to actually then impact the person's performance on the job, right? Why do you do competency mapping? It is for these reasons, or maybe even for, you know, career growth.
Okay.
Say, for example, you know, you want to actually plan career maps for them, then you will say at this role these are the competencies required, then at a higher role these are the competencies which you need. So as you go along, you will also give him those trainings so that he can go for the higher role. So promotion,
Correct. Also for
retention,
career
etc.
progression.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but then having said that, when we are talking about compensation, what does it mean? That somewhere compensation is that you are paying certain salaries. You are paying for the effort, for, you know, for the time spent to a person, and the employer, you know, you are getting some kind of a compensation. Now, in order, so what is the fundamental principle behind compensation? It has to be equitable. Whatever you do, it has to be equitable. What does it mean? Fairness, right? But now, fairness from the employee perspective or fairness from the employee perspective? So from the employee perspective. So employee perceives that equity in three ways. Hey, I said internal, external, individual. What does it mean? Hey, this is the job I'm doing. This is the X money I'm getting. Hey, vis-a-vis my job and vis-a-vis the other roles, how much are they getting? So when I'm saying competencies, you are making it objective, saying that, say for example, there are two people in the same role, and I'm going to give, you know, a merit-based incentive because he has certain competencies which will help him to grow. That's the way I'm actually incentivizing him, motivating him, A, for retention. But if I don't give him anything, and let's say keep this is the career, so keep doing trainings, keep getting certifications, but I don't compensate him, that means I don't give you a merit incentive, then what will you do? You say, hey, 1 saal dekh liya, 2 saal dekh liya, okay, great, I've got a great offer, 3 times or 4 times the salary, I will jump. Got it? So these are various ways. So when you actually do the course of entire compensation and benefit, so this comes under these indirect pay and direct pay, where we talk about extensively about these merit incentives, etc. Okay.
Thank
Welcome, Lavanya.
One more question, is that okay?
Jai has some question. Jai, tell me.
Okay. The one thing what I just want to ask is that I think all the people, they just like my department.
Jai, I don't know.
Doing,
Can you be a little louder? I don't know whether I'm not able to increase my volume, but anyway, you just be a little louder. Yeah. Or you want to type a question? It's okay. Or just be louder, then I'll be able to hear. I'm missing you out now. I'm not able to hear Jai at all. He can actually put the question on the chat. If any of you have questions, please put them on the chat. Now, I also want to leave this to Velma now. We are also planning to have certain modules. Okay, if you feel that you don't want to listen to understand the entire compensation right from A to Z in terms of everything, and you only want chunks, bites, and really focused on, you know, some analytics or regression modules, or only designing pay structures. So you can also send your feedback in terms of you know, if you want specific modules. All right, okay, because some people say, hey, we know a lot of things, but this is our weakness, this is where we want, so you can talk about it. And please send your feedback in terms of, you know, how was I mean, what else do you think you would like to have in terms of the modules? Okay, guys. So Vilma, now I think I will hand it over to you to talk about whatever you want to. Hi, Nirmala. Yeah.
Hi, Nirmala. Thank
Hi.
you so much. It was a real pleasure to have you today for our participants. And I believe our participants have been able to absorb whatever, in a nutshell, you have been able to share with
Hopefully,
them.
with the rush and the speed.
See, compensation is a vast, vast subject, and it is not possible to acquire all the knowledge until unless you have really gone into the depth of it and have a real hands-on experiences. Otherwise, I mean, it's a black box for most of the HR professionals, as I said. So, as Nirmala said, that these modules are will be covered under 5 sessions. You know, we are actually going to organize a compensation and benefits program, which is scheduled for 6th of June to 4th of July. It will be conducted every Sunday from 2:30 to 5:30, 3 hours each session. So in total, you will have hands-on practical experiences for 15 hours from 6th June to 4th July every Sunday. And what you will get in this is that you will get first a manual user guide, end-to-end manual, which will be like a Bible for you, and you can refer it at any point of time. Before each session, you will be getting a detailed PowerPoint presentation of that session, which will again be handy for you to recap at a later date and refer back. And after each session, you will be getting the video recording so that you can again use it as a reference point whenever you would like to go back and understand some of the things which has not been clear. And once all the 5 sessions are over, there would be 3 or 4 topics given to you on which you have to do a project, which would be either related to job evaluation or compensation survey or developing compensation structures for your organization. And once you submit that project, for which you will be given 60 days time. So on submission, you will get a recognition certificate with grades, and that is industry recognized and valid forever for you. So this is the process that we have for our compensation and benefits program. So guys, since you all are HR professional and some of you are also from the CNB, if you would like to join the program, you can let us know. Otherwise, also our team will be sending a mail to your. Those interested can send your participation through the mail. Or if you have any query, you can also call us on the numbers that has been given on the. Any questions?
Yeah.
Anything specific you would like to have, because we have 5 sessions. So what are the most interesting topics which you would like to know, so that we can focus much on those areas, like job evaluation, pricing, survey and pricing, or on compensation structure, variable pay plans.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, Vilma. There was a question from Jai. Okay.
Yes.
So Jai actually had a question saying that, and it might be useful for everybody. Typically on the ground, you definitely confront with such a situation, saying that here people say that we are getting business, so we should be paid more. So how do we tackle that, or how do we go about, or should we be paying more? So if you start paying people who are saying that, hey, I'm getting business, then what happens typically? So when you keep differentiating like this, you are actually creating a lot of inequity. Now, this comes from the fact that, say, for example, I'll give you an example. There are 2 salespeople. So the salespeople will say, one person will say, hey, I'm getting business, so I need to get more salary. Yes, salary, yes, more salary, because he's doing more work, more effort. So how do we differentiate? So when you are designing a salary, if you are actually then giving him an increase of salary by factoring that in his guaranteed salary, what happens? Then for long-term purposes, you are actually creating more PF, more gratuity, more, okay, and also you are also bringing him more towards the maximum of that pay range. So how do you deal with such issues? So when there are 2 roles, this comes under individual equity. So how do we deal with this? We deal with this by designing what we call it as incentives by designing what we call as variable pay. So in organizations, there are several jobs. For example, where there is elasticity in the job. When I say elasticity in the job, what does it mean? That means, like for example, all the operational people, the sales guys, elastic, he can make more. The insurance guy, he can make more. The production guy, he can produce more. I hope I mean very clear. So those jobs where you feel that they can actually produce more, then they always have this feeling that I can make more money. So therefore, you have to design an incentive plan, keeping your guaranteed salary without disturbing your salary structure. Design an incentive plan in such a way that he can make more money. For example, all of you I will relate with an example which is close to your domain. HR, talent acquisition, recruitment guys. So what do? Okay, if you close numbers, you get a target, and more than this, you will get some kind of an incentive. Okay, so you design an incentive in such a way that it also does not upset the apple cart in terms of reducing the quality and only increasing the quantity. Like for example, I'm sure all of you know, 60 days lead time, 20 people to be closed. Yes, kahin se bhi le aaya and we have closed the numbers. What happens? Business after maybe even 2 months, attrition 50%. After 3 months, after training on the shop floor, again attrition by maybe bad quality, not necessarily bad quality, maybe not up to the mark, maybe not interested. So there are several other things you need to look at, because probably, like for example, I used to have this huge issue. Best of guys, they would recruit and finish numbers, take an incentive, but what? Night duty, we don't want to do a night shift. So much of attrition. So this was an occupational, this was the concern. So why didn't we actually brief them before even bringing them on board? So spending all that time, cost, effort, then you close the numbers. So we need to take into consideration, especially when you are doing a talent acquisition, saying, hey, what are those things we need to look at? Like for example, what do you think happened during that time? Like, you know, that entire subprime in America, when, in the investment bankers, they were giving loans. What happened? The policy of incentive was give as much loans as possible. And they collected all their short-term bonuses. But what happened? Then everything collapsed because they were not able to pay back the debts. So when you design an incentive, what are those considerations which you have to take? That is key, not designing an incentive. Got it, guys? So I hope, Jai, have I clarified? Jai? Okay. He says thank you. All right.
Ma'am, I'm having one question.
This is Satish. Yeah, Satish, tell me.
Yeah, ma'am. It was pretty fantastic to see the statistics and the science, what I learned today.
You're
and
welcome.
my question, I'm very happy with the learning curve, what I've learned today from you. One question is, apart from the compensation, I would like to know about the benefits part. And I represent Indware, which is a good manufacturing company. I represent Indware, which is there into ceramics, pipes, and different kinds of industry, polymers, glass, and everything. Okay. And our attrition rate is pretty less in terms of staff. But when it comes to the casual labor, and people often leave us, and we are one of the best paymasters in terms of casual labors also. We take care of all the statutory norms as per government. And wherever the area is critical, we pay better than the minimum wages. And we give free accommodation, free water, free electricity, all this one. And we give you shoes, uniform, all PPs, etc. And our major target in our company is that no worker should leave us. People should be happy. The happiness should be there even for an ordinary employee, irrespective of the staff. So we have created all this one, and we celebrate the birthdays also and everything, but still people live at the casual labor side. So I would like to know what kind of benefits I can incorporate so that people stay.
before even you have a matrix, I think you need to find out why, do a pulse survey saying that, you know, why people leave. You can do some kind of an analytics in terms of look at past data, right? Okay, look at certain patterns, because you cannot have a solution unless until it is backed by some kind of a data. You getting me, Satish? Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
look at 2-3 years of data, and also look at your own January to December. Are there any patterns at a particular time? Are they leaving, right? Not necessary, you know, that they're leaving in January only or February. Where is your spike? Your attrition, in which month it's your spike? Only when you do a trend analysis, you will be able to get that data, that inference. Then once you get your data, then I would say, hey, then why are they leaving? They're coming there. We are giving everything, but they're still leaving. Okay, so rather than just giving out something on your own saying that we want to make it zero attrition, because I know that's the way it hurts you all, because it is like, you know, you are readying up, and when actually the productivity has to peak, they're going away. So it hurts. So what I would advise, get your data, do some analysis, and because you are incurring costs by training them, everything you're doing. But when it comes to peaking the productivity using them, then you find that there is attrition. So first find out the reasons, then come to a solution. Okay, Satish?
Sure, ma'am.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Don't jump the gun.
Sure.
All right. Okay. Okay, guys. So I hope all of you enjoyed, and since this was just a webinar to give you an overview and insight, I had to rush. But at the same time, yeah, what I would say is, as Vilma mentioned, we can also break it up into certain modules. And if you all are interested, then we can only focus on that module as well. All right. So take care, guys, and have a good time. Yeah, Vilma, if you want to conclude.
Thank you so much, Nirmala, for a wonderful session, and to all my participants for listening to her patiently and with keenness. It was a real pleasure to have you all.
Thank you all. My pleasure to interact with you. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.